Have you ever felt as though this world has become so uncivilized to the point of no return? This is a common notion that everyone has felt at least once in their life. But for samurai of feudal Japan, things were different because of one code that changed their entire way of life, this being the Bushido Code, otherwise known as the Way of the Warrior. Today I will show you how the Code of Bushido made samurai of feudal Japan the most respected figures across all, and hopefully you can find something of the code to adapt into your own life to make yourself and those around you better. The reason I became so connected to the code is because while I was at my local bookstore, I stumbled across a book which described the code in great detail, and it left me reflecting upon society and what it has become today and how disrespectful we all are. First, I will describe what times were like in feudal Japan and discuss how the Bushido Code was formed and what the code preaches. Second, I will examine the Bushido Code and how this affected their day-to-day lives, not only in their occupation, but also their personal life. I will discuss how the Bushido Code affected their reputation and relationships to not only their leaders, but also with the community. The Bushido Code teaches how one should act throughout their life to be a truly noble person. It is best shown in feudal Japan, where, in constant warfare and strict political control, there was also deep spirituality, which was best shown in the samurai of this age and their consistently evolving moral code. According to Quora.com, farmers and fishermen made up over 90% of the population. These individuals held high social status among the commoners because they produced the essential crops that sustained society. However, their daily reality was backbreaking labor. They were heavily taxed and suffered in times of famine and disease. They were also ruled over by harsh landowners and warlords known as daimyo, who also controlled the samurai through their deep loyalty to the empire and its daimyo. The Bushido Code was not formed like a doctrine would be. It was formed from taking the teachings of several religions and blending parts of them to create a code that served as an example of what a warrior should be. The Bushido Code taught 8 core values that made up a true warrior: Gi, justice; Yu, courage; Jin, mercy; Rei, respect; Makato, honor; Meo, honor; Chuji, loyalty; and Koji, self-control. These teachings, while serving as a moral code for samurai, also heavily influenced their daily lives compared to the average farmer or fisherman. In the samurai's daily life, a majority of that would be dedicated to the teachings of Bushido, while also focusing on their swordsmanship and discussing strategies with their daimyo during times of war. In the life of the samurai, you cannot simply just know the code, you must live it. This meant bringing justice to criminals in the community, showing respect to all, and above all else, loyalty to their country and its leaders. Their loyalty is best shown in times of war, where they focus their energy into studying their blade and discussing military tactics with their daimyo and obeying every given order, even if it killed them. The great loyalty and all other teachings of Bushido gained much respect from the daimyo as they saw samurai as their greatest allies, but the samurai's reputation in the eyes of the public was fairly mixed. While the daimyo sang the praises of the samurai for their distinct loyalty and military might, the public had mixed feelings on samurai, as some would come to fear them as violent enforcers, and some would admire them for their deep loyalty and sense of honor. The daimyo, using the loyalty of the samurai, would have them act as a military of sorts, which would sometimes give them this harsh, almost beast-like reputation that made the public resent and fear their own protectors. Commoners did not necessarily view all individual samurai as paragons of virtue. Many viewed them as strict, ruthless, or stoic enforcers. However, they idolized concepts of deep loyalty, mental discipline, and sacrificial honor that became the source of national identity and heavily influenced everyday society and its philosophies. To wrap up what I have discussed, I have described what times were like in feudal Japan and how the Bushido Code was formed and what it preaches. I have examined the Bushido Code and how it affected the samurai's day-to-day lives, not only in their occupation, but also their personal lives. Finally, I have discussed how the Bushido Code affected the samurai's reputation and their relationships, not only to their leaders, but also their community. To preach again, the Bushido Code teaches how one should act throughout their lives to be a truly noble person. Remember to be respectful and to strive to become a warrior that you can be proud of.